All right, so I was browsing the YouTubes the other day, and I saw this video that was suggested to me called Three Reasons Why Players and Creators Quit Guild Wars 2. And I was like, oh, what's this? And I was watching it, and it was on my second monitor. And I heard my own name. And I was like, wait, what? They name dropped me in the video. I was like, I didn't quit. And I started paying more attention. I was watching this video, and I think the title is a bit extra negative, probably trying to get more clicks. You know how we YouTubers are, but he made some pretty good points. I honestly think he made some pretty good points, and I thought it was worth discussion. So I actually asked him in the comment section. I left him some notes here, you can see. And I actually asked him, I was like, hey, do you mind if I show this to my audience and talk about it? And he's like, please do. So yeah, without further ado, this is Silhouette Gaming's 3 Reasons Why Players and Creators Quit Guild Wars 2. I gotta make sure it's on normal speed because of you guys.
Kind of worried about publishing this. I'm actually kind of worried about publishing this video, but I mean, fuck it. If you're gonna go out on a limb, you might as well do it before you have anything to lose, right?
All right, so really quick, what I think he means by that is he's got about 2,000 subs. He's been doing this for a little while, but not as long as like Teapot or something. So I think he's basically saying if I'm going to try making this video, I might as well do it before I get the big time, is what he's saying.
Guild Wars 2 is a great game, but as you can tell by the relative lack of actual content outside of how to get gold videos or build guide videos and the general interaction that those videos attract, it is no wonder that not only the general player base, but major content creators end up straying away from the game. Let's talk about...
So pausing there. All right, so it is absolutely true that some of my most popular videos are how to get whatever, but I make guide videos. That's normal. Hi. I'm getting yelled at. So I'm trying to think, what are some examples of MMO videos that are not guide videos that are insanely popular? Like lore videos, maybe, or just like discussing balance, things like that. I'm reminded of the Dark Souls Prepare to Cry videos, where the guy's just talking about lore for like hours on end. But yeah, I don't know that that's a bad thing. But it is true that the most popular videos for Guild Wars 2 are build videos, or like, here's how to make legendary armor, et cetera, stuff like that. Aren't meme videos usually popular ones? Meme videos do have a place, and they are funny. I will say I do not have any videos. Hold on, you know what? I'm going to pull up my YouTube here, just a second. I'm going to pull this up. Okay, search my content and search... most views to least views on my entire channel. And let's do views. And okay, here goes. This is my entire YouTube channel, which has thousands of videos. Why play Guild Wars 2? New player guide. Fractal guide. Legendary weapon guide. Why play Guild Wars 2? Again, because I'm scum. Legendary armor guide. Ascended guide. Clean your bags. Metas that make you rich. It's guides. It's guides. I have a ton of meme videos too, and they usually get, I don't know, a few thousand, 10,000 views, something like that. There is an audience for them, but these videos are the ones that keep getting clicks. These are the ones that get hundreds of thousands of clicks over time. Bug Wars, yeah, Bug Wars is in there. Yeah, dude, there's not a single episode of Bug Wars. Look at this. This one down here. 12 minutes a day gets you rich. I posted this a few months ago. This is now one of the top videos on my channel that has been out for 5 years. This How I Get Rich is one of my top videos, which absolutely proves his point.
About a few reasons why people quit the game. There is a general trend among new players that can be summarized by the phrase, "What now?"
Pausing there, I actually have a video called You Just Hit Level 80, Now What? And it is, again, a very popular video. Guild Wars 2 has a lot of horizontal progression content, and basically it means you hit max level very quickly, and then there's a million things you can do at max level. They don't raise the max level, they just keep increasing the amount of things to do at max level, which can be overwhelming. You hit max level and you get like you freeze the tail. there's so many options of what to do, you just like freeze up and you're like, I'll deal with this tomorrow, and then tomorrow never comes. Hey, look, horizontal progression.
The game is structured in an interesting way to not give any significant amount of power increase from different gear sets, with exotic gear being relatively easy to get for any particular class, and the only form of vertical scaling exists in one game mode, which is fractals, and it has no impact on any area outside of it. I have quite a few friends who play more traditional vertical progression MMOs like World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy, and when I try to explain how Guild Wars 2 works, I usually get a confused look of,
wait, so you've been playing for 12 years and your character is—
No. When you're talking to a Final Fantasy player, you're supposed to make them the soy jack. What are you doing?
isn't any stronger? What's the point?
and that is a legitimate question. The difference between exotic and ascended gear is only about 5%, with the infusions accounting for 2% of maximum DPS, meaning that full endgame.
Fun fact, I don't have stat infusions. I have full legendary. I haven't bothered. Each stat infusion gives you like plus 5 power. And you got like, 1,500, 2,000 power, something like that. It's less like... I had never bothered.
Player with min-maxed infusions, legendary or ascended gear, and a level 80 fresh from the trading post is only a difference of 7%, assuming that the rotation and the mechanics are handled identically. That 7% difference also costs magnitudes more than the initial set of exotic gear, something many players forego just for the amount of gold required to obtain it. Many people see these types of grinds as unnecessary or not intriguing enough to spend their time on, or even worse, see them as some unattainable goal.
I will say, is like this topic comes up with like legendary. Like I tell people often because they're like, "Oh man, this group won't let me join for Raid Wing 4 because I don't have Ascended." I'm like, dude, the Raid Wings were designed to go in with exotic gear. You can go in with exotic and earn Ascended in there. That group was just weird. And then the same conversation can be had from Ascended to Legendary. That's like, lots of people just don't want to do Legendary, and that's fine. And they just carry around more Ascended stuff, and it works out.
Building legendary weapons, working towards quality of life upgrades, or achievement hunting is really the true endgame content for a player looking to casually enjoy the game. Any content that requires heavy communication, coordination, a fixed playtime for world vs. world or static instance group content like raids or SPVP tournaments immediately turn people off of wanting to participate at all. The game also has no good ways of helping players who are interested get involved in these groups. And
wait, he said the LFG is pretty trash. Pugs are cool though. The LFG's okay. For those that don't know, in the game there is a LFG group finder. You can go in here and say like, I'm looking for group, for fractals, for tier 4. Here's some groups, and you can like join and then whisper them. It could be better. It could be better. For example, there's nothing stopping you from joining if you're the wrong role. There is no like auto thing. I'm not saying there should be. I'm just explaining how it is.
And while the community has developed some avenues to filter these new players into these communities,
He's showing Raid Academy, which is a Discord that is really good for teaching people how to raid.
it is far from what can be accomplished with an in-client structured development. And let's assume a player is willing to grind for legendaries or grind for an achievement or clear the raids. There are only so many raids to clear and so many legendaries to get. I myself am nearing the end of the road on building all of the Gen 3 legendaries and only have a handful of CMs that I haven't accomplished. But that leads us to reason number 2.
Too much content and too little content.
This may seem counterintuitive because you essentially have too much and too little of something simultaneously, and it is directly relevant to the most recent patch, Realm of Dreams, which we will get into shortly. For a newer player, once you blast
I'm sure that section is going to be only positive.
through the personal story and run around Corteria, if you don't have any of the Living World episodes unlocked, or if you don't have all of the expansions, you are getting thrown into a world of perpetual content. Many of the maps introduced into the game are still lucrative and played in some form. However,
So, quick pause to explain that. So, the way that the game works, for those that might be seeing this later and they don't know, like this is the world map right here. Okay, I would say roughly this-ish was the core game. Heart of Thorns added these zones. Path of Fire added these desert zones here. End of Dragons added this continent full of zones down here. And then way up here to the northwest, this stuff is Secrets of the Obscure. And then there's a bunch of miscellaneous maps thrown in. Like this is from a Living World season, this is from a Living World season, this is from a Living World season, so on and so on and so on. And these maps don't really go out of date, but they are all kind of like a snapshot in time. For example, all the maps in the core game, they're talking about the Dragon Zaitan, which is the final boss of the core game. And then the maps in Heart of Thorns, they're talking about, you know, fighting Mordremoth, which is the boss of Mordremoth, and so on and so on. It's like when you go back to Queensdale, you're going to Queensdale at that time period. That's just how they do it. But then also in Queensdale, for example, there's a world boss that spawns here every 2 hours. And people will come there to fight it because it has good loot. And you end up with level 5 newbies and level 80 endgame people fighting side by side against the boss. And they're just scaled to be, you know, near in strength. And it's awesome. I love that. The very memorable moment for me was the first time I stumbled across a world boss. There was like, you know, 100 people fighting it in this game. But yeah, so because of that, yeah, there's so much. There is so much on the map to do, and most of those maps have people in them doing things.
Content produced in 2012 and content produced in 2018 or 2020 are vastly different in difficulty and to some degree expect a player to have evolved skill-wise to
Ignore that.
handle the new mechanics. Not only that, but they often don't even know if what they're doing is worth their time. They're flooded.
World Boss of Queensdale has good loot. Mukluk 2024. Look, I have almost 10,000 gold, okay? If I got it all from Shadow Behemoth, which maybe I did, maybe I didn't, then I know what I'm talking about. And you don't, so there you go. It's that simple.
With unique map-specific currencies that may or may not have some complicated conversion process to actually get gold from them. They are getting thrown into events and storylines that are out of sequence or lack context to what they have experienced thus far. In short, you don't know what is going on or why things are happening. Imagine,
Birds, how are you today?
if you will, defeating Zaitan and then immediately going to fight the Aetherblades in Seitung province. Unless you just want to kill stuff, you aren't going to understand why you're even there. The second part is lack of content, which leads us to today with the current release cadence.
Brother, what's that? What's that, brother?
The freaking...
While every update
the freaking green bars. I hate those bars. So, quick explanation. So those are basically just like, they'll be like this story bit, there's NPCs talking, there's fighting, there's actual progress, and then they're like, go do stuff in the zone until this bar fills up. And you're just like, come on. And it's clearly just something shoehorned in just to, you know, just to fill time. You know, so that you don't burn through it too quickly. Those freaking bars. I hate those bars so much. And to be clear, if anyone's thinking about getting into this game, they're not common, but when you come across them, it's like, God dang it. It's a time sink. It's a time sink.
Is permanent and relevant. At the same time, the general lack of new content leaves veteran players with nothing to do. But first, let's define who these players are. In short, they are long-term players who understand the systems that Guild Wars 2 has in place, they can convert currencies, they understand how legendaries are made, and a general understanding of the classes that they play and the gameplay flow. If you ask a veteran what raids are, or what fractals are, or how to get certain materials, they should have some idea of where these things come from or what it takes to partake in them. Veteran players don't always hit benchmark numbers. Veteran players haven't always completed every piece of in-game content.
Veteran players don't always hit benchmark numbers. Reminds me of the meme with the cat where they're like, yo, how long have you been playing? And he's like, yo, 8 years. They're like, oh, so you're good at the game? And then the cat starts crying.
Typically, they play to hang out with the community that they are part of, do some story, engage in the content that is available with some friends. Not long ago, this was established through the old expansion release cycle, where you would buy a completed expansion that introduced new features on day one, mounts, legendaries, etc. And then after a few months, you were introduced to the continuing story or a new plot thread that is generally relevant to what you just experienced with the expansion, often setting up for the next expansion or release. For example, Path of Fire was a story about a fallen god looking to take over Tyria. Once defeated, his magic was absorbed by Kralkatorrik, which set the scene for Living World Season 4, and once Season 4 was done, two completely separate plot threads were then linked. With the current expansion cycle, we are given an incomplete expansion, with limited features at launch, strike mission CMs on a quarterly release, and a continuing story, of which consists of about an hour worth of story and about an hour of grind. Where the previous releases introduced 4 maps with an entirely new map for each quarterly update, we get 3 new maps, and then the last of the 3rd map is being released in 33% increments. The story instances in this recent expansion feel more like fluff than anything else.
This guy's making me fall asleep. Welcome to Silhouette ASMR.
Not giving any more depth than any other plot point thus far, and if a big twist is coming, it'll be hard to remember the last 3 story instances that were released prior.
I think that's completely fair, because like when I went back there, I had to kind of remember like what was going on. Like 'cause we did these 2, and then it was like come back in 3 months, and then we did this, and it was like come back in 3 months. And then we just did this, which took like 2 hours. And now it's like, come back in 3 months. And honestly, I felt while doing this section, almost nothing happened. It did, to me, it almost felt like nothing happened. You know, there was some plot points that I feel like they could have fleshed out. Like, oh, okay, so we're going to go to this guy, we're going to blackmail him into betraying this other guy, and we're going to use them to attack the queen and dethrone her, and then you use her as leverage against the king. Okay, those are the main plot points. But then how they showed them in the game was just kind of, you know, it was just kind of, okay, all right. And then, you know, also trying to remember what I did 3 months ago over here. So yeah, I can kind of agree with all this.
Is little to speculate on or any new concepts to discuss as a community, and the current setup is bad guy bad, good guy good. While I'd love to see Patha be a bad guy in the end, it is likely it will end the way all of Guild Wars 2 story has ended, with the commander and her friends triumphing over a shallow villain with no motivations for his evil besides...
Oh, hey. Joko had motivations. He was overflowing with motivations. The others, sure.
Well, he's a bad guy, duh. As for content features, new weapon releases were nice, and for flavor or RP, it is great. Some specs were big winners, adding a much needed weapon to existing builds, while others feel shoehorned in and useless. This may not have felt as bad if we...
I feel like when he said others were useless, he shouldn't have shown Thief Axe, which was benching like 60k DPS for a while, and then they had to hit it with a nerf pad. I feel like they should have shown the NG shortbow.
We did not have to wait 6 months before getting to play with them. If they had been released on game launch and then there was a large balance patch that happened 3 or 6 months after that retuned traits, filled in gaps, and really made room for builds for these weapons to function, the game would feel a lot better. But unless your build was already good, the weapon just made it better. Otherwise, it's just an alternative to what you were already running. The last thing I'll say about content releases is about the difficulty of encounters pertaining to the CM strike mission. I made a video about my early thoughts on Dag to CM about the time that it was released, where I had pugged the encounter and got the clear after a few pulls, and have since cleared it multiple times with other pug groups. I stated that I felt that the encounter could have been a little bit harder, but I felt that the difficulty overall was in a good place. Yes, this was an unpopular opinion, and it probably still is. But now that Cirrus CM is released, and we have...
Cirrus. like the cloud.
To take a look at the alternative, an encounter that is balanced so absurdly that the most try-hard groups can barely clear it, let alone go for the titles that are locked behind special conditions. These people play the game to a level that 99% of players will never reach.
All right, so to pause here, at the time if you're watching this later on in the future, at the time that I'm watching this video, I'm, to my knowledge, 20 people. 2 groups of 10 have cleared Ceruseum. If there's more, I would love for chat to correct me. I only know of 2 groups, Snow Crows and Teapots Fungis. That's it. So when he says like 99.9, no, it's more like 99.9999% of players will not get this done. Later on, possibly, but right now it is insane. The world first took like a week almost for somebody to get it. It is a very challenging thing, and I've got mixed feelings about it. As someone who, played WoW before I started, maining Guild Wars 2, I remember in vanilla World of Warcraft, the first one, the real one, when Naxxramas came out. It was like 0.001% of the player base saw Naxxramas. There was a quest to get the key to go in there, and most people couldn't even do the quest to get the key unless they were in like a try-hard guild. And, much less actually kill anything in there, like 40-man, 4 horsemen or something. So what did they do? They were like, man, we used a lot of freaking development time on this, and no one got to play it. What do? They used it as the first raid in Wrath of the Lich King. And some people were like, oh, they're just recycling. But you know what? None of us have freaking seen this. And it ended up being a big hit. It ended up being a huge hit. And, they were able to devote their development time onto other things. In this, I don't hate how tough this is, but there's a specific reason for that. In this, with Cerus, there is a story version of him where you fight him alone with NPCs. There is a normal version of him where it's like 10-man pug, and you can go in there with pugs and have a reasonable success rate. And then there's challenge mode version. They didn't have to go back and develop it from scratch for challenge mode. They took normal mode, they turned the numbers up to 11, and they added like 2 or 3 new mechanics, right? They didn't sacrifice a lot of development time to make the challenge mode after they made the normal mode and the story mode. This new strategy of theirs where they have a story version of a boss and a normal raid version of a boss and a challenge mode raid version of a boss means that they get to get more out of the development time that they use. And I don't hate that. I don't think that is a bad thing. At the same time, I think it is completely true that like most people are not going to see the challenge mode of this done. Now, I don't know that that is a problem. I do think that is a fact, but I don't know if that is a problem. I don't think it's a bad thing to have some insane content in the game that is not for everyone. That, like, for example, fashion contests in the game is not for me. I could join them. I don't enjoy them. I'm not planning to. That's just not for me. On the same token, there are people that like to RP in Goldshire, and challenge mode Cerus is not for them. They could get better. They could practice. They have decided it's not for them. Just like how people who make AI art have decided they don't want to pick up a pencil.
I've played the game for 11,000 hours, with my primary content being endgame PvE.
If it wasn't clear, I'm making fun of them, not defending them.
And I will never reach it. 0.99% of in-game player base has gotten the title Voidwalker, and those are the only players who have accounts registered with Guild Wars 2 Efficiency. And
all right, so real quick, Voidwalker is the achievement you get for doing Harvest Temple challenge mode, which was the hardest fight in the game before Sarah's challenge mode.
this includes all of the people who have bought title clear runs from raid sellers. So to make content on par with it appeals to who exactly? Maybe 1,500 players total, with the world's first race being done by what, 40 people? Making content so niche is on par with making no content at all. The reason that ANET abandoned raids, or the reason they claim to have abandoned raids, was the lack of community engagement, when raids were getting far more involvement from the player base than content of this level when raids were being released. Now, when I wrote and vocalized this original script, this was before any announcement from ArenaNet on the adjustment to
I like how he says sorry for my voice, but it sounds exactly the same to me.
Cirrus CM. There has
Silhouette, I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just as smooth and sensual as it has been.
been some recent news stating that they are going to nerf and incorporate a kind of a mid-tier version.
Oh yeah, this. Okay, so for anyone who hasn't heard about this, they, as he's touching on right now, they posted on the forums that they hear feedback about Sarah CM, and they hear that some people want them don't touch it, some people want them to make an easier version. They're going to have a additional difficulty for Sarah CM. There's going to be story mode, normal mode, kind of hard but not really mode, and then the existing CM mode. So there's going to be like a new, not so challenging challenge mode that they're going to add.
Keeping this fight the same as it is in like an insanity tier level of content. Just know that I am aware of the changes, and I still stand by the points that I've made. Depending on how much this fight is nerfed will determine how I actually feel about it. I don't really have a problem with insanity tier level content being introduced if it's for the niche community, but the idea of having a normal mode that is basically a wet paper towel and then having a challenge mode which is insanity tier is a bad look. So if they do actually incorporate these kind of mid-tier fights into the game, it could be better. And
I could kind of agree with that. I will say, like, because for example, normal mode Temple of Phoebe, which is the Ceres, I was able to make a guide for that. That following that video, and the video is like 2 minutes long, following that, like any group of 10 people can kill it. It's not bad. Like, I've already taken out the thinking. I'm just like, look, he's going to split into 6 dudes. Hit that one and then that one. And the next times, hit that one and then that one. And then stand in this, don't stand in this, but bop, bop, you're done. You know, it's not bad. And then, you know, this insanity tier is like an entirely different beast. So yeah, it is like going from, 1 to 10 really fast.
I recognize that. I feel like this was an afterthought by ArenaNet. We'll see. It's a good thing, but let's be clear that this was not their intention. We will see what adjustments are made to this fight and see if it does become more accessible.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at this. They're freaking comparing it to Bone Skinner. Are you kidding me? Bone Skinner? Bone Skinner. Okay.
For a wider player base. I do think that they did look at the metrics and looked at who was participating and realized like, oh shit, there's literally like nobody engaging with this content. Speaking of community engagement, it leads me to my third reason.
The community. Which is amazing. You guys, you, that's right. I'm talking to you. Put your dishes away. You're amazing.
Let's rock.
Okay.
Let me clarify. The Guild Wars 2 community is great, even though it can be narrow-minded or overly forgiving to the studio that produces the game. And I understand that this video is fairly grim with a negative tone and some bad things to say, which is not something Guild Wars 2 is known for. But to make this clear,
I like how when he mentions this is grim with the negative tone, and the visual he chose to use while he said those words was showing Reddit.
Been a player since before Guild Wars 1 Prophecies was actually titled Prophecies. I have God Walking Amongst Mere Mortals. I have a 50/50 Hall of Monuments with 11,000 hours logged in Guild Wars 2. I have over 10,000 hours logged in Guild Wars 1, and I absolutely love this game, this franchise, and have and will be a supporter for whatever comes next. But taking a look at the community around the game will help determine why it doesn't get the recognition it deserves. The community has run and established multiple events and pieces of external media to help bolster the interest and intrigue around the game. Some communities focus on training in-game content like Skein Gang or the Void Lounge. Some do little fun events like the Secret Toy Maker. Some people make add-ons or feature packs like Arc DPS or Blish HUD add-ons, and most of these things are absolutely free. The videos that get produced by myself and many other YouTubers or streamers, they make them for free, and unfortunately, that is the problem. Because you see, Guild Wars...
I'm gonna be honest, chat. I started making them for free. I now also make them to buy ramen. I know, I'm a sellout. I sold out to Big Ramen. I like some noodles from time to time. I'm hungry. I'm sorry.
2 has a limited community. The game is a budget-friendly MMO, which doesn't really attract whales because there is no pay to win. They can't pay for power. There is very little to discuss besides build guides.
Wait, hold on. Is he saying it's bad that we can't pay for power because we're not attracting whales? Back up.
Budget-friendly MMO, which doesn't really attract whales because there is no pay to win. They can't
Okay, I guess he's just kind of stating it.
Pay for power. There is very little to discuss besides build guides, farming guides, or niche
Wait, did I make any of these? Heisen, soundtrack, tier
achievement
list,
guides that are the only content available to talk about,
Guild Gen.
which leads to new media surrounding the game being very sporadic or shallow.
none of these-
Streaming
oh my
or
gosh.
content
None of
creation
these
as a
are-
hobby.
Wait, what is this? Guild Wars 2 sucks 4 out of 10. What is this? Nade up. Just an average MMO. Oh my gosh. I might have to check that one out later on. I haven't seen this video.
Is one thing. That is what I do. However, the vast majority of mainstream personalities or up-and-comers have one goal in mind: to make it or maintain it as their full-time job. And unfortunately,
Okay, hold on. So he's transitioned from talking about communities of players to specifically content creators. And I wanted to say something really quick on the community of players topic before we keep going and I forget. I will say, as someone who's spent almost 20 years playing MMOs, okay, largely I played EverQuest, World of Warcraft, and Guild Wars 2. I've also played a bit, like a year here, a year there, of Black Desert Online, Rift, WildStar, Guild Wars 1, Elder Scrolls Online. I played Final Fantasy 14 for like a week. I've played all of these over the past 20 years. And I will say that in my own personal experience, the Guild Wars 2 player base was the nicest, right? Like, if you are stuck on something and you just yell in map chat, you're like, hey, I'm trying to figure out, blah, 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 or where is this, where is that, what, how do I do that? People will answer and tell you. Like, whereas, if I did that in Baron's chat in World of Warcraft, people would tell you how they met your mother. It was like a Call of Duty lobby out there. Like, it blows my mind. Guild Wars 2 has a lot of systems. Like, you gain a ton of XP for reviving another player. So, like, if you're just walking along and you see a player go down to a mob, reviving them, even for greedy players, they were incentivized to do good actions. So it ended up making a very, things like that made a good player base. There's no kill stealing. That's not a thing in this game, stuff like that. So I've overall had just talking about interactions with other people in this game, it's been better than any of the other ones I've played in the last 2 decades. Again, my personal experience.
Guild Wars 2 does not have the viewership to sustain those goals. Outside of stream subscribers, private communities, or direct support through donations and merchandising, the math doesn't work out. Mighty Teapot plays Guild Wars 2 part-time now. Mukluk only plays when new releases come out.
Wait, no!
Dad
Okay, hold on.
do part-time now.
All right, so he said, let's take this from the top. He said Mighty Teapot only plays part-time now. That's true, but what was he doing before? Mighty Teapot before was streaming it 7 days a week for 10 years, all right? Now he also plays some World of Warcraft. Yeah, so you could say the hours he puts into Guild Wars 2 have gone from like 80 a week to 30. Still though, All right, and then let's go to what he said about me.
Mukluk only plays when new releases come out.
All right, hold on. All right, so I actually talked to him about this. I was like, all right, that's not entirely true. I went from 7 days a week to 1 day a week plus new releases. And it wasn't, first of all, I've been streaming on Twitch for 5 years, so I have a very big Twitch audience. I've been streaming on YouTube for like 5 months, so my YouTube audience is much smaller. And he's showing my YouTube stream page, so the views here look not nearly as impressive as if he had shown it on the Twitch side. So that's, thanks for the little slap there. Appreciate that. He's making my numbers look worse. In any case, yeah, you see Warcraft 3. Yes, I've been enjoying some Warcraft 3 lately. I did a nostalgic playthrough of the campaign on hard mode because I'm a gamer. And I've been playing Pacific Drive, and then you can see there's some Guild Wars 2 here as well. But yes, last year, I went from 7 days a week Guild Wars 2 to Guild Wars Tuesdays. And I did that not because I was hating the game, but because I was burned out. Just myself. I was burned out. I had done basically everything in the game. I made guides on basically everything in the game. And I needed a break. I was at the point where I still love streaming, but there was days I was like, I really don't want to play Guild Wars 2 today. I was just burned out. So I cut it back a bit. And, I was doing like 55 hours of Guild Wars 2 a week. And, I had to cut back. So I did that, and it was great. It was great for my sanity. And you know what? In terms of as a content creator, because he's going into talking about money, I will say I lost money doing that. Because how much you make as a streamer, flat out, it's the size of your live audience. And my live audience when I'm playing anything except Guild Wars 2 is usually smaller because I'm known for Guild Wars 2. So I was like, look, I'm going to take this hit. I know I'm going to have less ramen in the pantry, but I'm doing it so that I stay sane, and then I don't want to end up like quitting the game or something, right? Because I just needed a break. And yeah, now I play it every Tuesday. And I do it like half on the EU servers, half on the NA. And when there's a new release, like last week, there was the new Soto release. I played it for like a week straight and just like only did that. We did tons of Guild Wars 2 that week.
Caffeinated Dad has moved on to Path of Exile.
I mean, there's a lot of Final Fantasy in this clip too. I think he's doing pretty good. 5.2K views there. That's pretty good. His YouTube streams are popping off. Are these? Oh yeah, 2 hour. These are live streams recorded. Dude, look at these thumbnails. His thumbnail game for live streams is way above mine. Dude, that's one thing I hate on YouTube. When you stream on Twitch, it automatically will just take a frame from your stream and it makes that frame your thumbnail. So like if I go here, currently my thumbnail is me looking at, it's me looking at Reddit. Oh, that's gonna cost me views. And you can see like here's Eriki and she's doing something here, and those are the thumbnails. On YouTube, you have to make your own thumbnail for every stream, which is it is arduous. I tend to make like a thumbnail per game, and then I use that thumbnail for each game I do. But Calf Dad, he's putting in the extra effort here, so props to that.
And Wooden Potatoes recently returned after a long hiatus.
True. Wooden Potatoes, I believe, had a lot of stuff happen in his life. I think someone had a medical issue or something. I heard this like from a friend of a friend of a friend. I don't know that this is 100% true, but I think with WP, it was just life happened, and then he's coming back now.
The rest of the content creators like myself, Giljan, Valoon, Philindral, tend to stick with videos that fall into singular categories: build guides for a certain game mode, gold making guides, or guides about a particular content type. If it's not that, it's a clip from a live stream or a montage.
Hey, you wanted this, right? You wanted the real deal? That's what this is. Wake up, you're in the middle of it. You want to run? Go ahead, no one's stopping you. Stop complaining.
Why?
What? Why did it show Basilisk Venom while you're fighting Cairn? Cairn doesn't have any break bars.
Why? Well, the answer is easy, because that's what people will watch. And views equal money, and money equals making content creation as a full-time job. Without a visible community of streamers, content...
Okay, so again, we're going into talking more and more about the business side of things, which really caught me by surprise watching this video. I didn't, because remember, the video is called 3 Reasons Why Players and Creators Quit Guild Wars 2. I was not expecting to go into this. But that's fine. I got a lot to say on this topic.
Creators and so on, it's hard to get people interested in the game, which is part of the reason why things like Cirrus CM get introduced in the first place, despite only 0.0x% of people actually ever engaging with them. Now, I'll step out on a limb and I'll give you a look behind the curtain of content creation of Guild Wars 2. Unfortunately, that the revenue that content creators make from YouTube AdSense, which is Google's monetization platform for becoming a YouTube partner, is negligible. And Patreon, YouTube subscriptions, Twitch subs, or donations are the only real way to effectively monetize a platform into something actually meaningful.
Okay. So he's talking about the business stuff, which I have no problem talking. I usually don't bring this up unless it just comes up in conversation, but I have no problem sharing this knowledge with people. So I'm not going to give the exact numbers because that would make my wife uncomfortable, and you know, happy wife, happy life. However, I will tell you guys I'm one of the larger Guild Wars 2 content creators. I'm very lucky in that aspect. All right, what I make from most of you probably met me for the first time thanks to YouTube videos. There will be exceptions, but I've done a poll of this many times, and that's always been the answer. Twitch. Like what I make from Twitch revenue and YouTube revenue, it's like if YouTube is a 1, Twitch is usually a 4 or a 5, okay? And that's because both of them have ad revenue, but on Twitch there's always bits and subs, and have you heard about Twitch Prime? There's those. So those added on to it, plus my, even though YouTube, I have, this collection of videos that people use every day, I make 4 to 5 times that on Twitch, because Twitch has all these other things included. Additionally, Patreon. To really drive this point home, there are many months where I operate YouTube at a loss. Okay? Meaning I pay my editor, Noxxi, more that month than I made from my YouTube channel, which is one of the largest Guild Wars 2 YouTube channels that exists. The reason I justify that is Patreon makes up for the difference, and then I'm still fine. My family is still fine. And with Patreon, the rest of Patreon and Twitch and the occasional sponsorship I get for doing stuff for other brands and things like that, we're fine. The ramen is stocked. We're okay. And, the YouTube, basically, it's bringing in more viewers. It's bringing in more viewers, more people see my stuff like that. But I really want to say he's absolutely correct. Okay? Like, I am one of the largest Guild Wars 2 content creators, and many months my editor makes more from me than I make from my YouTube. And I can only do that because of the patrons and Twitch and occasional sponsorships. If I was not a live streamer and I was only making videos, I wouldn't be able to do it as a job. I would be doing it as a hobby. Which the first 2-3 years I was streaming and making YouTube stuff, it was purely as a hobby. I was just everything myself. He edits his own videos. I got to a point where I was like, okay, I'm going to pay an editor to do this. And what does that allow me to do? It allows me to make the framework for more videos, and then, she can edit them, and then I can I can do more live streams. Like, I never did morning streams before having an editor to work with and stuff like that. High five hobby forever. Yeah. And that's totally fine. But I'm basically saying that what he's saying about if you were trying to make a job out of Guild Wars 2, there's a very, very few seats for that. Like Teapot, I'm sure makes enough that he could do it as a living if he wanted to. I myself do, but it is through not just YouTube. It is through many avenues. YouTube, Twitch, Patreon, sponsorships, referral links. If you've ever used my links to download Guild Wars 2, stuff like that helps. Nexus, when you buy Steam games using my Nexus link, stuff like that helps. It's basically just many revenue streams coming together that make it possible for me. I don't know many others that do it as a full-time thing. It's mostly a hobby. It's just not big enough of a game for that specific purpose.
Those interested with the numbers without direct sponsorships.
Lord Heisen says, I inflict pain to others for a living. Yes, Lord Heisen is a dentist.
A creator that is in the gaming sphere gets about $3.40 per 1,000 views.
Real quick, this changes constantly, but this is true. So, for example, leading up to Christmas, you know, when people are blasting you with commercials like, you know, buy your kids Legos, whatever. Those companies are paying a lot of money to do that before Christmas. Even when I'm not really doing anything different in December, my revenue from ads on Twitch and YouTube will go up in December. And then after Christmas in January, it goes down. So December is the best month of the year for ad revenue. And just in January, February are the worst. So if you, for example, are a content creator and you're doing this for a living and you're kind of just barely paying the bills, you got to save up during the good months to pay for the bad months, because the bad months are really bad. Even if you're doing the same thing all the time, there's ebb and flow to this.
To give you an example, a build video on my channel takes about 5 or 6 hours to create, with longer videos taking longer to create. In California, where I live, the minimum wage is $16 an hour. So assuming it takes 6 hours to produce a video worth posting, it must at least yield a return of $96 to be equivalent to McDonald's. For it to beat McDonald's, each video produced would have to earn at least 29,000 views in the month that it was produced, which puts your annual salary at a whopping $33,000 a year before taxes. And frankly, almost no creator in the Guild Wars 2 sphere draws that attention to their videos. Not Mighty Teapot, not Wooden Potatoes, not Darren's, not Philindrol. My highest performing
He didn't say not Mukluk. There's a chance. Also not Valoon. Valoon's got it.
video is 5 ways to make gold in Guild Wars 2. It has 12,000 views. I made a total of $22 since it was posted in mid-January, and that video took me well over 6 hours to create, probably close to 15 hours. Had I spent those 15 hours at
I will say build videos, it also depends on how long you work on them. For example, I've recently been posting some videos where I tried to support for like 3 hours and then I shared my thoughts on it. Those basically took me like 3 hours of gameplay to learn the skill, and then maybe 20 minutes of me talking about it and sharing my thoughts. And then I hand the video over to Noxxi, and Noxxi maybe spends between 2 and 4 hours of editing to clean it up, take out any weird, thinking sounds. She saves all those. She maybe puts in some occasional visuals. Like if I'm talking about people dying on Bone Skinner, she'll find footage of Bone Skinner and put it in the video. She does like a little bit of editing. Those are lightly edited videos, but if you combine my time spent on them and her time spent on them, it's like 6 to 7 hours for one of those. If you, for example, the build guides I've done in the past, like the low intensity build guides, where like I pointed a tooltip and it zooms in and it highlights it. Maybe there's a meme, like I mentioned Shout Warrior and the guy comes up, let me see your war face. And then there's green numbers everywhere. Those are all really fun to do. They take a lot of time. And when we do that, it absolutely, like, the video almost never makes more than what our hourly wages are. It's a labor of love, right? It's a labor of love. But yeah, doing a video like, example, when Snowcrows does their benchmark videos, and it's literally just someone beating the crap out of a dummy for like 60 seconds with music in the background, doing something like that is, like, most of the time spent is in practicing and refining the skill that is showcased in the video, and the recording the video itself is a very quick process. But if you're doing a video that's heavily edited, like some of the crazy build guides and stuff, it takes a lot longer. And the worst feeling is when it goes out of date. Like the last time I made, like, here's everything I know about how to play Druid, and then like a month later, they changed how Druid worked. And I was like, mother, because the only way that video was going to pay for itself was if that information was relevant for like 6 months to a year. And then it just gone. Yeah, it happens.
McDonald's flipping burgers, I'd have $240. Making that video has given me a monthly salary of $7.30 before taxes. And I'm not so inept to think that being a YouTuber or being a streamer is an insignificant or an unobtainable goal, nor do I look down on people who pursue it, especially if you're young, without a family, or you don't have personal expenses. However, I talk these numbers to give you an example. Take a look at the largest creators in the space. Are any of them making enough to support the work that they do? Delta Connected maintains Guild Wars 2's only DPS meter out of the kindness of their heart. Blishud
that's kind of funny. Anytime there's a patch and our DPS breaks, and they're like, that's where are you? What the hell? And I swear to God, he's always on vacation. I think he looks at the Guild Wars 2 release schedule and he schedules vacations on those days, and then like, Arc is broken for 2 or 3 days. The entire community is dependent on this one guy, this one geek. And I say that in a loving way, and we don't have to get back. Yo, when he quits, someone else is gonna have to pick up the programming mantle.
Developers do so of their own free will, and all of the build guides and videos, including the ones that are created at personal expense of the creators doing them. So if the community wants to remain alive and grow and continue to grow, support the creators that you think bring value to the community with your likes, your subscriptions, and your viewership. Subscribing to my channel is free and more than enough support. I hope this video shed some light on why players and content creators choose to walk away from this great game, but as for me, I'm here to stay. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.
Silhouette Gaming. Yeah, I had never seen this guy's content before this video. This popped up just randomly. I was watching it on my second monitor. I was shocked to hear my own name dropped, and I started paying even more attention. And honestly, I think the title was definitely a little bait-y, but, you know, honestly, that's a good YouTuber, so, yeah, whatever. I thought it was pretty good. I'm going to link it in the chats. If you guys enjoyed this, you know, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you want to see more of his stuff. He does have a lot of build guides and stuff like that. I'm going to watch more of his stuff in the future, but yeah, I asked his permission to do this. He said it was cool. You know, I just wanted to share my thoughts. There was a lot of stuff there. Talk about because the community half, the first half of the video, I'm inclined to agree with most of it. Especially like the stuff with Soto. Soto has been fine. I personally really liked the strike missions, the convergences, and the new weapons. Living World Season 4 is my favorite story. There was a lot of depth to this story. This Soto, in a nutshell, has been basically like, you know, we find out what Zoja's been up to. That's cool. There's wizards. Okay, that's cool. They fight demons, the secret underworld. Okay, that's kind of neat. And they're like, we need help. I'm like, okay, I can help. Hey, I got a whole army at my beck and call. You want their help? No, just you. Okie doke. And then we have a bunch of like near-death experiences. We do yoga on top of Amnitas. Zoja fries her brain. And then now demons are our friends or something. And it's definitely, it's all right. I got no hate for it, but I definitely don't love it as much as like Living World Season 4 either. I do love when he said Valoon. Yes, I do love what he said Valoon as well, yes. Valoon seems to respond to comments. He does. Yeah, he does. If you go down here, I had a conversation with him down here in the comment section. And then you see like there's a reply, there's a reply, there's a reply, there's a reply. Yeah, he is responding to comments. Mukluk, the content creator aspect is nice, but my mind goes to the days of early Blizzard. There was none of that, yet those games survive. Part of me thinks it's a bit overblown IMO. I don't think he was saying... Haggard, thank you for the raid, buddy. I appreciate that. I don't think he was saying that it's a requirement. I think he was just talking about the troubles that he experienced as a content creator. Now, I will say there is no requirement for ArenaNet to make any changes to Guild Wars 2 in order to make life easier for people who choose to make content creation a full-time job. That should not be a factor for them. For example, if they were like, oh man, we should rework Druid, but Muck just made a Druid guide, this will make it go out of date, so let's not. No, that'd be stupid. Do whatever me making videos should be a non-factor for them unless I put a bug on blast and they're like, oh, hey, I just noticed this bug in this Muck video. Maybe we should fix that. Yeah, that's the most I could hope for with that. They should not change what they're doing, just for content creators. However, I think it was fair that he showed that stuff. Definitely caught me by surprise that he did. Especially here, I live in the USA. People are very there's like a stigma about talking about like your earnings and stuff like that. I hate it, but it is a thing here. So it definitely catches me by surprise when that topic gets open, but I'm happy to talk about it in general. See if there's anything more I have to add. I think I said most of what I wanted to say during the video, but yeah, it was a pretty good video. It was a pretty good discussion, I think. And I'll have his channel linked down below if you haven't already seen it. Be sure to like and subscribe his stuff if you haven't already. If you want to see more of his content, and I think that's it. All right, cool. Thanks for watching.